Hey folks, how you doing out there? Darren Scorza with another Drinking and Wink info review. Very happy to be with you here tonight. Ended up getting home a little early. The wife, Michelle, is out doing some planning with some other folks for a new educational music venture. So I figured, you know what, I got a lot to do tomorrow, but let's take a little break. And I thought I'd come at you with my kind of half year. This has been a tradition at Drinking and Wink, half year conversation of what we've got so far and what I've really been knocked out by. I would like to say it's been a slow year, but actually I'm kind of getting a bottle every month or so, maybe a little more, trying something out. Trying to hit some sales and trying to catch some good things, and a lot of good things came out so far. I have, in terms of my half year, this is always kind of staged as honorable mention time, and possible contenders for whiskey of the year when we get, to January. I don't know if I have it yet. As of this point, we'll see what else comes across my, what comes my way for the rest of this year. But I got some really killer ones here, and a couple of them, the way I like to do it, actually all of these are available. One is going to be a little harder to find, but the other three are pretty much, a good liquor store, and even just your independent, still good quality liquor stores, you might find these. So and none of them are bank busters. All right. Maybe except that one a little bit. So I just thought I'd come at you and tell you about little things that what we've tried and all that kind of stuff. Not on the table here, but what comes to mind also is Campbellton Lock was a blended Scotch whiskey that I got, and this is from the same distillery area that in Campbelltown that Springbake is in Glengyle. You can pull it out. It's bottled by Springbake. That could be on here as well. Slightly expensive, but not too hard to find blended Scotch. Also, the Whiskey Acres Cask Series cigar blend. We're getting a nice little collection of that wonderful DeKalb distillery. The cigar blend from their Cask Finish series, or what they sometimes call their Cask Finish series, was my most recent purchase. I like that a whole lot. Oddly enough, it would be on the table, except a little earlier in the year, I got another one of their Cask Finish series that is on the table. What else? Anything else I can think of? Bourbons, again, I'm still kind of in that. Oh, by the way, that one that I just mentioned, the cigar blend, was a bourbon that was then finished. But bourbons, I know it's almost like half a year since I did my September Bourbonanza. Still not doing a whole lot with bourbons. I do enjoy the ones I have, but I haven't really gotten one that's really been knocking me out. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We've also, since we've been getting a little bit more into martinis and gins, I've been doing some gin shopping as well. So there you go. I'm going to start off with, I'll go in price range. The first, I didn't do a lot of Irish whiskey drinking and or purchasing this year, even around St. Patrick's Day. But I did pick one up, and I liked it on first blast, so to speak. And a couple days ago, I had a little blast of it again, and I'm enjoying it. As much for the price tag as for what they got in here. The first one I'm going to talk about. I mean, this won't be whiskey of the year, but this was a very interesting whiskey. It's by the Kilbeggan Company. I've brought you this many times before. Kilbeggan has a core range. It has a very limited edition. I don't know if you could find this. One of my favorite limited release single pot still Irish whiskey, but it's not a name that comes to mind when we're talking about Irish whiskey. As much as your Jamesons and your Bushmills and your Redbreast, and even now Tullamore. Kilbeggan's a little bit of a not a name that you would think of, but I had their their bottom of the range, which I enjoyed as a basic whiskey. Very comparable to the same only thing I mentioned, Bushmills. I think I actually like that better than standard Bushmills. Good bottling. This single pot still Irish whiskey that I just brought up is one of my favorites of all time, and definitely a contender for one of my favorite single pot stills. I mean, the higher price range, we're talking 50, 60, and up. This one is relatively new. This used to have a different name, and I'm blanking on it, but this is their triple cask. This is a triple cask which is combining 3 different types of casks. And I'm also mentioning this because it also is kind of educational in a way. We do want to understand the difference between taking a whiskey and aging it in regular, oak barrels, maybe even ex-bourbon barrels, and aging it for, say, the majority of its time in that one cask, and then they will move that liquid and age it finally in a secondary cask. That is different from what is happening here. This is matured in 3 different types of casks, meaning they're going to age their distillate in bourbon casks, in this case Pedro Jimenez sherry, and American oak, okay, which means brand new, never touched, what bourbon would go into. They're aging in those 3 separate barrels and then blending that together into one blend, essentially. So that is what's happening here. So this isn't finished aging in sherry. This is 3 separate blendings mixed together. And a lot of blended Scotch whiskeys will make that difference too. The Dura series that has the I can't remember what it is. I don't know if I can't reach it either. But that series that I came out that I talked about or they call it like double aged. They're doing that as well. So it's good to know the difference. Anyway, the other thing I like about this is bottled at 43%, so you're a little bit above that standard 40, and it's running about $30. I like that the best. On this one, typical Irish whiskey flavors and notes get you a little bit of that graininess. There's a corn flavor there, but right away this blending of aging really hits you and gives this a little more weight, a little more sweetness, and mutes that kind of grainy. I don't mean that like grainy. I do mean like kind of rough or kind of like cornstalk taste that sometimes you'll get with Bushmills or Jameson. All right, well, noisy mouth today. I apologize. I didn't pour myself some water. I meant to. I might even step out and do that. I'm not going to do nose, taste, and everything for all of this, but I'm just going to tell you, if you're in the market for an Irish whiskey that you want to sip or put on a cube, and maybe not just use a blender, this is a real interesting price point and blending of these 3 casks. Again, it's called Kilbeggan Triple Cask. Really nice. Like I said, a couple more points on the ABV. Under $30. Can't go wrong on that one. All right. Another one that I did just try, but I remembered. We'll move on. I'll move to America again. We're going to talk about a Overholdt Irish whiskey. Now, you will know old Overholdt. It's not Irish whiskey. A Overholdt Rye whiskey. Now, we will know the Overholdt name because at the bottom shelves of your rye section in most liquor stores, you're going to see a couple of different brands, and one of them is always going to be Old Overholdt. It has a similar colored label, this yellow. It has I can't remember what A was. Angus Overholdt. I can't remember who that first was, but very standard rye whiskey that you can use for blending. I had it for a while. I don't know that I would drink it, neat, but it's pretty good. This is a completely different animal. This is a Overholdt's straight rye whiskey, okay, and this is using what they call the Monongahela mash. All right, so this is not in the tradition of when rye whiskey, which was on the East Coast, and in Pennsylvania and Dutch country and German and Scottish settlers and Irish settlers brought over, started using rye here as it was so predominant. This is more in that tradition versus a few years later when the tradition moved to more, what we know of bourbon country, Kentucky and Tennessee, and they started making their ryes with a mash bill of just a little bit of rye and still adding corn and perhaps some malted barley in their mash bill. This is a mash bill of 80% rye and 20% soft malted barley. So there is no corn whiskey. in this, or corn, I shouldn't say corn whiskey. There is no corn grain in this. This is bottled at 47.5%. I don't like the mixed cup. Oh, you know what? She's got a clean shot glass here I'll use. But just to give you a little heads up on this, if you like your rye tasting, well, like rye, pretty mellow. It has a Coca-Cola, not the sweetness and not the carbonated vibe, but the, like Coca-Cola and caramel flavor. But plenty of rye notes come in. The malted barley does give it some softness. That's just a really nice, tasty rye. Is it as solid as maybe going up a little bit more and getting into the actually none of those regions? Is it as solid as you know, for another $10? It's Michigan. I always forget it. Journeyman's Ryes? No. Is it as good as Whiskey Acres straight rye or their bottled and bond rye? No. Okay. Those are a little bit higher in the price tag. This one, you know, normally hits at just below 40, but it has a really nice flavor, and I can see this in that mix of, like, I would not mind sipping this at all neat. Got a nice flavor. Cube it's got enough punch that a nice cube wouldn't kill it. And I could see it using as a blending for cocktails as well, blending rye for cocktails. Most importantly, though, again, keep in mind, here's a good one. If you're making certain drinks, this is something to note. If you're making cocktails, it calls for bourbon and rye. Okay, let's say it calls for rye. If that cocktail has a lot of sweet ingredients, you know, like you're adding a sweet vermouth or whatever cocktail you make. I'm not a cocktail expert, but if that is really sweet, using kind of a sweeter bourbon along with that can really make a kind of a sickeningly sweet drink, in my opinion. If that's the way you like to down your cocktails, great. If you're looking for something that has a little more spicy character and not quite as sweet, and you got other sweet ingredients, a high rye content rye might be just a ticket. Okay, so for instance, one of my favorites, just a very simple drink. You know, it comes by different names, but you know, combining 2 ounces of whiskey, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, a little bit of bitter, regular straight bitters, and then, you know, adding a little a cherry or two. Okay, it's called, and when it's Scotch, it's called a Rob Roy. It could be a couple of different things. That can get a little sweet, especially depending on the sweet vermouth you're using. I love a sweet vermouth that has a tendency to be a little sweet, so I like to counter it. So that's a little tip. Anyway, that's a Overholdt Rye whiskey. Pretty available. Like I say, it's not going to be everywhere, but if you see the regular old Overholdt label, look around for this. This might be on a different shelf. It might not be right next to Overholdt because it's a different price point. But I really enjoyed that, and I will probably get another one of those just because I like that. Both Michelle and I like that high rye content. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, we are going up in the price range. I can't go. You know, I haven't called a single malt Scotch my favorite of the year every year, but I have to have one in the honorable mentions or the half year for sure, and I found one. This year, I bought my first Ardnamurchan. Okay, Ardnamurchan Distillery. This is a West Highlands distillery. I've talked about it before because it's a relatively new distillery. They are also people that make the wonderful, and again, it's not in reach range here, I don't think, but they make the wonderful McLean's Nose, which I've blended. Nope, sorry, it's a blended Scotch. It's not a blended malt. And even with that, the quality is so high, and they're using so much single malt whiskey in that it's very, very, very good. This distillery is kind of becoming everyone's new favorite distillery, Ardnamurchan. Check them out. I just bought their kind of core range single malt Scotch whiskey. It's called AD. It has no age statement, but it's bottled at 46.8, at least here in the States. It's imported by Impex. It does, you know, quite a few distilling Distillery. This is unchill filtered, no color added, and 5 or 6 years ago, a 10-year-old Scotch whiskey was in the $55 to $60 range, maybe a 12 on a couple of brands. Now everything is going up $10, $12 in price. This one should be under 60, or if if it is at 60 or 60, 60 plus a couple bucks, it's worth it. Very simple design, give you an awesome box. They're telling you on the core range all kinds of things, numbers, and they're very transparent. They use all renewable stuff. This is very cool. I don't know about this label, but I know on other labels that this distillery puts out, they're actually using recycled barley waste, basically, in their labels. Very cool company, and it's a rather small company. I like it that in Scotch whiskey, this is a growing trend. Thankfully, there is, I can't remember her name, but there's plenty of women and men in the kind of administrative and working roles there. It's just a very nice company. But it doesn't matter if their Scotch whiskey isn't any good. Fortunately for me, and for you, if you choose to take on the task of buying an Ardnamurchan AD, it's great. On the nose, everything you want. Barley, honey, vanilla, a little bit of like an earthy funk. I wouldn't say go as far as peat, but it's definitely something that's been aged on a coast, and that is certainly the case here. Highland single malt Scotch whiskey, the nose, you can't get better than that. Oh, there's a little bit of a hint of that yeasty beer note there, which a lot of people like. If you are a fan of the hazy, or I'm sorry, not hazy IPA, but pale ales and things of that nature, you're going to find just a little bit of hopsiness in this. Of course, it's not in the mash bill, but something about the aging and the yeast that they're using, it pops through. I poured myself a little more because I'm going to finish the night with this. This is... Is this my favorite, let's say, $60 and under? Well, let's put it out. Let's go $70 and under single malt Scotch whiskey. No. But at the price tags, you can sometimes find it, and the quality, this is, yeah, it has no age statement on it. Ardnamurchan isn't aging this for 3 years and throwing it in the bottle. This is really good stuff. Japanese whiskey fans would love this, which is kind of reverse, because I think these kinds of production, the way that they're producing it, I think are actually being stolen a lot by the Japanese single malt Scotch or single malt whiskey producers. This is just delicious. Again, funny name, Ardnamurchan, Argyll. It's an Argyll, Western Highlands, Scotland distillery. Just really tasty. And again, 46.8%. So you're getting a lot for your. There's other other distilleries that are putting their 10-year-old products out at 40% or 42. This gives you a little more. I think why people like this, with the exception of that Campbelltown funk, this tastes Highland, but there's a little bit of earthiness there. I could just drink this all night. I can't because I got to do some other stuff, but that's it. Right now, the best new single malt Scotch whiskey that isn't some kind of dusty collectible or something that's out of our price range or out of our availability is the Ardnamurchan AD. Okay, check them out. Check out the website. I might put some links in here afterwards. Finally, now a little treat. Something that's going to be a little harder. As I had mentioned, Whiskey Acres. I've talked about Whiskey Acres all the time. The hat's laying around here somewhere. We're hoping to, if we ever get some time with some family issues and gig issues, because we don't, the problem is when you're musicians, you start booking gigs, and then you start, thankfully, if you're busy enough between, just teaching work and gigs, you don't really plan out anywhere to go. So hopefully we'll be able to make a little trip westward and get out there on the way to DeKalb. But I've raved about this place for years. I haven't hit a dud with all theirs, and I've tried and or owned most of their products. We have owned and or tried their 4 basic core ranges, which is their 2 ryes, straight and bottled in bond, and bourbon and bottled in bond. We've owned 3 of those 4. We love them all. What's interesting about that company, I know I've mentioned it before, but they started off like most doing, really going for the bourbon, and then when it came to rye, from what I understand, the president told me this personally. It's kind of a cool story. The rye that they're growing, because this Whiskey Acres is a farm, and the rye they were growing there wasn't really cutting it for with the climate and all that. Wasn't really cutting it for that. So as they do, they're not going to go out and buy the rye grain from somewhere like Canada or MGP. What they do is they buy the seed from Canada, bring it in, from what I understand, grow it there, and that's where they start putting out the rye. Funny thing is, their rye, especially their bottled and bond rye, although Michelle likes just the regular straight one. There's only about $5-6 difference between the two. Michelle likes that one, but their rye started winning more rewards before the bourbon. The one thing about Whiskey Acres is, like I said, I talked to them once. They aren't going to give away the secrets, but they do consider that they have a character or a taste. It's the Whiskey Acres taste. It's a Whiskey Acres vibe. I don't know if it's just the combination of the climates, DeKalb, Illinois. If you went to Northern Illinois University, or not like me, because they didn't accept me into the music department. I've told that story before. But it was okay. I went to Eastern Illinois, and I was much happier. Yep. Not that I don't, I love all those people out there, and I have lots of friends that went out there and went to Northern, and my sister went to Northern. So there's nothing wrong with that. But not for percussion. She was smart, and she became the best accountant, as far as I can tell, the best accountant in the Chicagoland area. The Whiskey Acres, where am I going with this? Sorry, I didn't eat as much as I should have, so maybe I should have planned out my drinking a little better. But the Whiskey Acres are seed to spirit distillery. I've said that many times. So along with their core ranges, and then they do these limited timed releases. They have what's called the blue popcorn, or blue popcorn. Yeah, they have one that's called Bloody Butcher. Those come out every so often. Blue popcorn is just tremendous. Bloody Butcher is probably the one that I think is least characterful of, or at least like their Whiskey Acres. Something about that is good. The bottle's almost gone, but it's not my favorite. When they became old enough, because like I said, they're a teens distillery. They haven't been around that long. When they became old enough, they put out a 7-year aged bourbon that is fantastic. Right there. I got half that bottle done. I'll buy another one when we're done with that. However, they also do these cask finish series. They've done, I don't know all of them. Another one was the bourbon in a finished in a maple syrup cask. That was tasty, a little sweet for me. You know how I was talking about earlier. I'm not a big fan. That's the only place I show any restraint in regards to sweets is bourbon. But that was delicious. And then I came across this. This is one of their cask finish series. This is rye whiskey finished in Tokaji barrels. Tokaji is a Hungarian kind of dessert wine. That's what they use. It's not cheap. There are some other whiskey companies that have done finishing, or distilleries that have done finishing in that. Glenmorangie's Tale of Cake, which we have, uses those Tokai barrels, I think that's what they're using. And it gives it kind of a nice little fruity scent. I will tell you this, Whiskey Acres, in comparison to Glenmorangie, the company sizes are like that, versus they did a better job with the Tokai than Glenmorangie did, hands down, and it's a cheaper bottle. Anyway, this is going to be a little hard to find now, as this was a limited release, and it's still around a little bit. I see it around once in a while in Binny's. If you're looking for this, if you don't see it on the main shelf next to the Whiskey Acres core range products, check the end of bins, and you might even get it on sale, which is interesting. which is not where I got it, but this was actually on sale when I bought it. This one was on sale. So a lot of these cast finish series with Whiskey Acres, they are going to release it at the distillery first, and then a small allocation will go to various stores. Anyway, I told you all that about their cigar blend, which I just bought. But this one I bought earlier in the year. It's a bottle of 58.35. And the thing that's really quaint, and if anybody from Whiskey Acres happens to watch this, it's funny. They don't know they're aware. This is like, when you hear about a baseball card that's more valuable because a name is misspelled or it's a wrong stat or something like that. I love this distillery. I'd work there if they offered me a job. They misspelled Tokai. They wrote it Tokaji. I think I've mentioned that before on here as well. But that's what this is. So this is rye. I can't express how good this finishing cask took to their rye. Their rye has a bready pumpernickel quality to me. Actually, to me, all of their stuff has a little bit of that. Yeasty, bready. It's so delicious. Some people get turned off by that. I don't know how. I mean, I love bread. Look at me. I'm 50% bread. Baby, I want you. Baby, I need you. That's bread. I know a lot about bread. If I went back to my parents' house, I was just over there today helping out, and their air conditioner went down like half the rest of the state of Illinois. I guarantee you, she has the cassette of the best of bread in her one of her dresser drawers. Back to whiskey. This on the nose rye, but you get this almost. I can't even, like a little bit of like a strawberry hint, if that makes any sense, or strawberry frosting hint. But again, everything is measured. It's not over the top. On the taste, you get a little bit of expressive cask, a little bit of overripe fruit, but it goes right away, and then chocolate blends in really nice. Little bit of that kind of earthiness that you get with rye, a little bit of the sage, and almost want to say basil. Well, that's not right. It's not. Yeah, you know what? Not basil is in terms of the flavor, but if you take basil or maybe a bay leaf, you just kind of smell it, and there's that little bit of like spicy note on there. That's there. On the finish, this is earthy, a little bit of leather. And the finish, it's just so good. There is just some kind of thing in the alchemy. I don't know if it's the decal water or all the corn flakes moving around. I can't remember the mash bill on this. I think the rye, I don't know, but I think the regular rye, I don't know if there's any corn in that mash bill. I know they do a real high rye content, and there's probably some malted barley, and then they finish in these. This is going to be hard to beat in terms of whiskey of the year. I'll just say that. It's just delicious. And what's so neat is, again, I had their bourbon, all right, and their bourbons, I think, are wheated bourbons, if I'm not mistaken. Again, if somebody from Whiskey Acres happens to check this out, please let me know. But the cigar blend bourbon that I just bought, this one, there's a you can tell it's all in the same family. I think if you blinded me with everything on this shelf back here, and you gave me you threw a couple of Whiskey Acres distillery or bottles, I should say, I think I would be able to pull them. I may be being cocky, but I could find them. They're just that unique, really tasty. If you find this, if you are a fan of, well, let's put it this way. This is not for like bourbon jockeys who just, I like to call them charheads. It's not for you. This is more of maybe a Scotch fan that likes, like big blasts of flavor. But again, this is not, there's no sherry. This is a dessert whiskey. It's very tasty. If rye is a little too spicy and a little bit too pungent for you in a way, or you get that earth too much, this finishing here at the Tokaji cask covers that. It's just really good. I hope you can find it if you are interested by this. If you're a rye fan, what's funny is when I started my whiskey journey, I obviously started with single malt Scotch. Then I started getting into Irish, then blended, then even added Canadian a little bit there, and then I got back to the bourbon. Okay, a long time ago, I really only had one favorite. It was Woodford Reserve Bourbon. What's interesting is rye was like last on my list, and then Michelle actually started getting into ryes more than I, and I think her first one was that Journeyman. It's over my shoulder. It's in a little bottle. You only have about 200, I think that is. I'll get it. There you go. Journeyman Distillery's Last Feather Rye. And at first I was like, this is different. I don't know, I dig it. And now I am really drawn to the rye taste profile. So if you don't like something, if you don't succeed, rye again. Oh, God. Okay, I'm going to hide back here. Anyway, we are at 31 minutes, and I was going to make this a 15. This has been my half year. I'll recap one more time. If you're looking for an Irish whiskey that has just a little bit more than those core range, those $20-some bottlings at $30, Kilbeggan's Triple Cask will not disappoint. Gives a little more gravitas to kind of, a blended Irish whiskey. Nice flavors. It's a nice bottling. I quite frankly think at 43% triple cask finishing, they could actually charge a few dollars more. Not that I'm asking them to do it. But that's another thing about Kilbeggan. They keep their stuff priced in a nice little price range. It's maybe because their name isn't as big as the other one, so a couple more dollars, maybe you'll try it. I can just say everything I've ever had from the Kilbeggan Irish Whiskey Distillery didn't disappoint. You just got to know what its job is. Do you want a basic, blender style Irish whiskey? You want to throw a cube in something on a hot day? Their core range is great. Check them out. I've been singing their praises for a long time. By the way, if you see one of these on the shelf, the single pot Irish whiskey, this has a little bit of oats mixed into the mash bill and a very old single pot still Irish whiskey tradition. Buy yourself a bottle and you will not be disappointed. It's like whiskey for breakfast. And if you don't want to buy it, you don't like it, I will literally buy it off of you because I can't find any more of that. Next up was the Overholdt Rye. Again, we have a couple different kind of ryes. This is a very standard rye, but it's made with the Pennsylvania-style Monongahela mash, which is, again, 80% rye and 20% barley. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to get the idea of what rye really tastes like, that would be a great pick. Again, I'll show you the bottle one more time. Finally, single malt Scotch whiskey, Ardnamurchan's AD. No age statement, but plenty of quality, no chill filtering, no colorant added. So that's the other thing. They have not added colorant on this. They never do in any of their products. And you can see that it's a pretty rich color there. So either they're doing some kind of crazy alchemy with your aging, or this is more than a 3-year age whiskey. I think I read somewhere it was 5 to 7, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Like everything, it's just everything that I pick. I always look for balance. Okay, I like rich, bold flavors, but if you're giving me, some of them, like this is not about moderation. This is like, boom, we're going to make this a dessert whiskey, which is great. This is about showing off their distiller without too many hands in the process, too many variants. Single malt, it's just malted barley. And then they do something with the aging, but it is just a high quality product, and they don't tamper with it, with filtering it, and they're not putting any color in. Outstanding. While I'm doing it, I'm going to look. I want to see what the price tag is on that right now. So give me a second. And then finally, we're going to talk about Prior to Cal Whiskey Acres, and this is their Cask Finish Series, limited edition. Finished in rye whiskey, finished in Tokaji casks, and whether you find one with the misspelling or not, you will. It's just a blast of good, sweet flavors without going over the top. All right. If you want to, yes. Okay. Where is AD? Sorry, I'm looking for how much AD is costing right now. Let's see. Okay, AD is now jumped up to $70. You know, that's unfortunate, but that's the way it's going, especially when you have a tariff clown changing things all the time. I'm going to say maybe look for that one on sale, and those do occasionally go on sale. But even without, this is where we're at with single malt Scotch whiskey. Unfortunately for us, everything's up another $10. So I'm going to drink it slow and have at it. This has been my half year kind of roundup. I'm not, like I said, it's going to be hard to beat these. I'm going to have to get something really special to kind of pull in. We have a lot on the table here. As soon as I get a little more time to go, like I said, we do also want to start talking a little bit. I've teased talking about tequilas. We've kind of fallen off of that a little bit. And we also want to talk about gin. And I mostly want to talk about gin because, gin and tonics, I like those. Martinis, I'm really getting into. Some of the more, artful, sweeter martinis, I'm not so big on, but Michelle and I are gonna talk about them only because I want to learn more too. So maybe you have one that you love with your dirty martini, or maybe you like this with a French martini or whatever, or maybe you want to use indigo and you have some kind of, something with some kind of essence of flower that you're gonna make some fancy martini. I kind of get bugged when when the drink starts turning into something that it isn't really. I thought martini was, gin, vermouth, dry vermouth, maybe some bitters and an olive, and you're done. Start drinking. That's changed, but I'm also very open-minded, so we might be getting into that a little bit. Finally, if you are in the Harper College area, Palatine, Schaumburg, all that, I'm gonna make a gig plug. My wife, Michelle, and a bunch of good friends. Some of you know all these people. We got a great band playing tomorrow. That is July 26th at the Harper College Outdoor Summer Concert Series. If it's too hot or it's raining, we will be inside, so the concert is going to go for sure, no matter what happens. It's really a lot of fun. It's just kind of lawn seating. So bring out your blanket, bring out your chair, whatever. You can sneak whatever you want on there. I'm not gonna bust you. Really nice little setting. A lot of my friends from Harvard College have done different concerts out there, and they were nice enough to offer us that gig again this year. Last year we were inside, and it was a really screaming hot day, so we didn't get a whole lot of people out there for that last one. It'll be great tomorrow. It might still be hot, but who knows? If you're in the area and want to hear some good music, and I know some of you Northwest Suburb people are like, "What are you playing? What are you playing?" Well, you can come out and hear us for free. You don't got to dress up. Just bring a blanket, bring a friend, bring a chair, bring a chair for a friend. Whatever you want to do. That's tomorrow. We got Corey Biggerstaff on bass. He's a faculty member there. We've got the ebullient Neil Alger on guitar, and we have Chris Mayhew on piano. That's most of Michelle's latest record band. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So come out. We're gonna play some engaging but hopefully uplifting music, and we love it. I'm still getting a lot of opportunities to play music here, and whether it's family issues or politics or whatever, yeah, you could always use some more music. So if you're in that area and you got nothing to do, or even if you have something kind of, moderately interesting to do, bag that and come out and hear us. All right? Ardnamurchan, Whiskey Acres, A. Overholdt, Kilbeggan Irish Whiskey. Summertime and the whiskey is tasty.